Mankind took millions of years to climb to the top of the food chain. But the biggest threat turned out to be ourselves. That's how ironic reality is. There are now 10,000 nuclear warheads on Earth, which can send all of humanity back to the Stone Age at any moment. Besides that, climate change and superviruses seem to be able to kill humanity one by one. If AI suddenly gets out of control, it might also think humans are too stupid to live. Do you think the word extinction has already moved from science fiction movies to the real world? And we are living in this dangerous era. But if we look at it dialectically, the human species might also spread throughout the galaxy in the distant future, living for trillions of years. So how should humanity's future proceed? Scientists have pondered and discussed a few possibilities. Either complete annihilation and total ruin, or barely hanging on, unable to die but not able to live well, or going all out, exploding with potential and reaching the heavens. Hello Earthlings, I am Ding Yi's Exploration Society. Today we will have a good talk about 3 possibilities for the future of humanity. Let's start with the path of collapse. Our ancestors were quite resilient. They survived asteroid impacts and ice ages, and supervolcanic eruptions. The Black Death and smallpox killed hundreds of millions. But humanity endured, and became stronger each time. But the problem is that things are different now. Let's talk about nuclear weapons first. Although the Cold War ended over 30 years ago, and many people think this threat is outdated, there are still 10,000 nuclear warheads lying around the world today, capable of wiping out humanity dozens of times over. If a nuclear war were to break out, smoke and dust would obscure the sky. The global temperature would drop by 10 degrees and crops would fail to grow. Those who survive would starve to death in the nuclear winter. And climate change is even more insidious. You might think it's just getting hot, and you can wake up with a bit more air conditioning. But the problem is that the climate system has tipping points. Once triggered, it cannot be stopped. When permafrost thaws, methane will be released in large quantities, and the Amazon rainforest will disappear, turning into grasslands or even deserts. At that point, the temperature won't just rise slowly. It will surge dramatically. Scientists estimate that there will be at least a 12-degree temperature increase, and all global climate zones will be reshuffled. Secondly, biotechnology is the most frightening aspect. Tools like CRISPR gene editing were originally intended for treating diseases, but the same technology can be modified to create superviruses with maximum infectivity and maximum lethality. That would be even more devastating than nuclear weapons. The most critical issue is that the barrier to entry is getting lower and lower. In a few more years, it might be possible to develop them at home. This is like giving everyone a nuclear button. Most people wouldn't press it, of course. But what if a madman emerges among humanity? AI is also quite precarious. This is the first time humanity has encountered something potentially smarter than itself. In the past, no matter how difficult a problem was, theoretically humans could always find a solution. But what if AI is smarter than us? What if ICE goals conflict with human interests? There are 2 possibilities. One is that AI becomes the most powerful assistant. For example, many scenes in this video are AI generated. It can also help us treat cancer, solve climate problems, and extend lifespan. Another possibility is that AI deems humans too foolish and wasteful of resources, and simply marginalizes or eliminates us. This sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, but some renowned scientists like Stephen Hawking have seriously considered this threat. So is humanity doomed to complete annihilation? Not to that extent. The human species is actually quite resilient, with over 8 billion people globally now, from deserts to ice fields. From high mountains to small islands, humans are everywhere. This distribution itself is a form of insurance. Even if 99.9% of people perish, leaving 8 million people on Earth, that's still more than the total human population for most of history. Let's talk about our adaptability. Other species need tens of thousands of years to evolve new abilities. Humans don't, because we have advanced technology. We build heaters when it's cold and air conditioners when it's hot. We desalinate seawater when water is scarce. We synthesize protein when food is scarce. This speed is thousands of times faster than natural evolution. Another advantage is that we are omnivores. We can eat anything. The mass extinction events in ancient history saw the fastest demise of picky eaters. Omnivorous species had the highest survival rates. Humans are even more remarkable. Not only can we eat anything, but we can also synthesize it artificially. In a true desperate situation, we can eat insects and algae. These can be life-saving in critical moments. So the real question isn't whether humanity will go extinct, but how much impact civilization can withstand. During the Black Death, half of Europe died, and 1/10 of the world's population. Yet civilization did not regress. Instead, 2 centuries later, we saw the Renaissance and the scientific revolution. What if a disaster of similar magnitude struck today? The global economy would certainly collapse, supply chains would break, and financial systems would be paralyzed. Human society would experience turmoil for a while. But as long as infrastructure and knowledge remain, humanity can rebuild. The saying "knowledge is power" will always be true, as long as someone remembers how to generate electricity, farm, and build tools. Civilization can continue. But what if global industry collapses entirely? Without electricity, internet, or machines, everything would have to be done manually. That would be quite problematic. It would take several generations to climb back to the industrial age. Moreover, easily accessible resources, like shallow oil and minerals, are largely depleted. Climbing back up a second time would be much harder than the first. Even more dire would be the loss of agriculture, pushing humanity back to a hunter-gatherer era. In that case, Earth could only support 10 million people, which would be a true state of savagery. Scientists have calculated that to rebuild civilization, at least 100 to 5,000 survivors are needed. Any fewer would lead to insufficient genetic diversity, and inbreeding would cause genetic diseases, making the population truly irrecoverable. In 2009, 2 diligent researchers conducted a thought experiment on how to completely exterminate humanity. Their conclusion was that 3 steps would suffice. First, a global war coupled with industrial collapse, reducing the population to a few million. Second, depleting remaining resources over 2 centuries, deforesting, causing soil erosion and ocean acidification. Third, complete ecological collapse, followed by a supervolcano as a final blow. It sounds grim, but don't worry. The key takeaway is that to truly extinguish humanity, multiple disasters must be superimposed. A single event cannot wipe out the human species. Therefore, while the path of collapse is terrifying, as long as we don't court disaster, we will likely avoid it. Now let's discuss the path of stagnation. This path is the most frustrating. Humanity survives, but that's about it. There's no significant technological advancement. This could be due to resource depletion. Oil, coal, and various minerals are finite. Petroleum, coal, and various mineral resources are finite, gone once dug. If a replacement isn't found before digging is complete, technology will be stuck. Without steel, machines cannot be built. Without energy, factories cannot operate. Civilization will hit a ceiling. Or perhaps environmental problems cannot be solved. Although climate change didn't cause extinction, it made Earth harder to survive on. Sea levels rose, extreme weather increased. Food production became unstable. Just dealing with these would be enough for humanity to handle. Where would there be spare energy for innovation? Alternatively, technology might be stuck. Controlled nuclear fusion remains elusive. No breakthroughs in alternative new energy sources. Energy issues become a bottleneck. Our fundamental physics is locked down. With no new discoveries, humanity is trapped in the solar system, unable to leave. But honestly, I think stagnation is the least likely outcome, because humanity has almost never truly stopped throughout history. Technology is always slowly advancing. Even during the 2 world wars, which were so brutal, technology actually saw an explosion of progress. Humans have a characteristic: greed. Never satisfied, always wanting better. This innate drive cannot be suppressed by anyone. Moreover, technological progress is now exponential. In the past 100 years, from horse-drawn carriages to cars, planes, and spacecraft, from telegraph to telephone, internet, and AI, from abacus to calculator, computer, and quantum computer, this speed is increasing, because each new technology spawns more new technologies. So unless there's a full-scale nuclear war or a super plague, stagnation is unlikely to occur. That leaves the third path, transcendence. This is the most exciting part. If you traveled back a few hundred years and told ancient people about modern life, they would surely think you were telling fairy tales. A mobile phone in hand can communicate in real time with the other side of the earth, can see events happening anywhere, can access all human knowledge. Ancient people would surely call you a demon. Flying from China to the US in a few hours, they would say you're crazy. When they heard about weapons that could destroy entire cities, and that humans could live to 80, 90, or 100 years old, they would probably just prostrate themselves. But our current capabilities might just be a fraction of the future. Since the Industrial Revolution, technology has been improving life in all aspects. Global quality of life is now at its historical peak. Humanity is the healthiest, wealthiest, freest, and most knowledgeable in history. Many people don't feel it, because the brain has a negativity bias, always preferring to focus on bad news, and being less sensitive to good news. This is a remnant of evolution. For our ancestors, being vigilant about danger was far more important than enjoying pleasant things. However, with the data laid out, the progress of modern humanity is an undeniable fact, and this momentum is unlikely to stop. The cost of solar and wind energy has plummeted, now cheaper than fossil fuels. The integration of AI and biotechnology offers new guarantees for human health. Some advanced ICE are analyzing pathogen structures and searching for cancer therapies at speeds far exceeding human capabilities. If this trend continues, we might have technology for regenerating limbs, and all diseases may be eradicated. Perhaps everyone will have indefinite lifespans. This may sound like a beautiful fantasy, but many scientists believe the technological leaps that these brains cannot achieve can be realized through AI within this century. At the same time, AI is also developing clean biofuels and drought-resistant crops to combat climate change. This is just the beginning. We are witnessing the dawn of an intelligence explosion. A super AI may emerge in the future, capable of solving problems that have plagued humanity for millennia. Of course, aligning AI with human values is a significant challenge, but this step is crucial, not only for the prosperity of the world, but also to combat malicious AI. Furthermore, if energy consumption continues to grow exponentially, we will eventually be able to control more energy